Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 13 of CNC with Dave. Tonight we've got Steve Carmichael in the house, and he's going to be talking about his electric guitar build that he did primarily, I guess, with his X-Carve. Little handwork there, wasn't there, Steve? But anyway, we'll start off with doing the introductions here of my distinguished panel. And Mark, looks like you're over there on the far left, so we'll start off with you, buddy.
Okay, I had to unmute myself. Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Lindsay, and you can find me for the most part on Facebook and too many CNC woodworking and guitar groups to count. I'm also on YouTube under this name, Mark Lindsay, and I actually posted to Instagram a couple times this week. And I will be monitoring the chat for your questions for Steve and for the panel. So let's get them up there.
All right. Thanks for being with us, Mark. Melinda, you're next.
Hey guys, my name's Melinda Davies. You can find me on Facebook under Melinda Davies. I've also got a group that I'm starting. It's WoodMD. So you can find me in those two places.
All right. Thanks for being with us tonight, Melinda. Next we have, and I'm going to say your name right this time, Michael Chipser. I think you're coming.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, my name is Michael Chipser. You can find me on Facebook under Michael Chipser or on Wood Chips. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for being with us tonight, Michael. Next we've got another Michael Mertzke.
Hey, how's it going? Mike Mertzke. You can find me mainly on Facebook and Instagram. You can find all my links at mertzkecustomwoodworking.com and every once in a while on YouTube.
All right. Thanks for being here tonight, Mike. Next we've got Richard.
Hi, folks. Rich Moeller here. You can find me on Facebook or YouTube channel by Shade Tree CNC.
All right. Thanks for being here tonight, Richard. Next we've got Russ.
Nails Woodshop on Instagram is under the same name.
All right. Thanks for being here tonight, Russ. Next, we've got Tommy G.
Yeah, my name's Tommy Gonzalez. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, all under Tommy G Workshop. And you can check out my website and store at TommyGWorkshop.com.
All right. Thanks for being here tonight, Tommy. And finally, we've got a guy who probably doesn't even need an introduction. I think everybody knows him. Steve Carmichael. Welcome to the CNC Show, Steve.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it all week. How's it going?
Doing great, doing great. And I see Russell Clarity snuck in here too. Russell, you want to give a shout out to somebody or plug yourself?
Oh, you can find me, Russ Clarity, on Simply Wooden Creations on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, all under Simply Wooden Creations. So.
Okay, thanks.
I just wanted to say one thing real quick before we get started. Don't forget about my website giveaway. If anybody wants to know, I'm giving away a free website. You have until July 23rd, 11:59 to enter. Go to simplywoodencreations.com. Go across the menu bar over the contest. Scroll down to giveaway. All the information on how to enter is in there, and you'll win a free $3,500 website.
Wow, that's an awesome giveaway.
So.
All right. Okay. Well, Steve, I've been wanting to have you on the show for quite a while because, you know, I know you have an X-Carve, and there's a few of our panel members here. Tommy's got kind of sort of an X-Carve. Michael Chipser has an X-Carve. Michael Mertzke used to have an X-Carve. So there's a few of them here on the panel, but I got to say that, you know, when Inventables started doing their I guess their big marketing program where they started sending these X-Carves out to all these folks, and you know, there for a while it seemed like every other day on YouTube you'd see an unboxing video and all that kind of stuff. And I, you know, being a CNC guy, I watched all that stuff. But it wasn't until I saw your video where I thought, man, somebody has finally made something really cool with an X-Carve. So I, you know, ever since I saw that, I wanted to have you on the show here, and just tell us a little bit about that that CNC adventure making that guitar.
All right. Well, yeah, Inventables sent me the large X-Carve as part of their marketing program, and I really appreciated it at the time because I probably never would have gotten a CNC on my own. So thanks to Inventables for that. But yeah, I'd always wanted to make an electric guitar, and you know, it's one of my bucket list projects, I guess. So when I got it, that was the first thing I thought of that I was going to try to make with it. So and it was right after I had made the one over there out of a 2x4 for a contest. Is acoustic Telecaster I made out of an 8-foot 2x4. That was kind of leading up to this. It was kind of a good practice run, I guess, in making a guitar. But yeah, when I got that CNC machine, that's the first thing I wanted to make with it, is a guitar. Because I guess about 10 years ago, I had taken a tour of the Paul Reed Smith Guitar Factory. That's in, I think it's in Maryland. It's like across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge or something like there. So it's in that area. But when I was up there and I saw the CNC machine cutting out a guitar body, I was like mesmerized. I was like, that is so cool. And then, so yeah, ever since then, whenever I heard CNC, that's what I thought about, was making guitar bodies and guitar necks and all that stuff. So yeah, I've got the guitar right here that I made with the X-Carve. It was a challenge. Not only was it my first time making a guitar, but it was my first time using a CNC to make a guitar. So a lot of first times in this project. But it came out fine. It works great, and it still stays in tune. The neck is straight and everything. So, and I think if anybody wants to build a guitar, it seems daunting. I think if you're a guitar player, it helps a lot, and if you have a guitar to use as a guide, it helps a lot. But I can see where if you don't play guitar, you don't know anything about it, how it could be a daunting task. But a lot of it is just straightforward woodworking. You know, you're just cutting out shapes and routing holes, and that's about it. And cutting slots for the frets with a saw, you know. But and the electronics, that's pretty easy to learn. But yeah, I went through the whole process from drawing it up and making the files that I needed to make the X-Carve do what I want it to carve out the guitar, and then to make sure it all fit together, you know. So yeah, pretty much everything from start to finish, I did the whole process, and it was a great learning experience. And I did it in the middle of summer here in Georgia, so it was hot.
And for those of our viewers who, if you haven't seen that video, I've actually put the link to those videos in the description right down below here. In fact, I put the link to the follow-up video as well, because it had a lot of good information in it too. But I just thought that was the coolest thing, and it's still the coolest thing I've seen an X-Carve make to date. And I took some notes that I rewatched that video again today, Steve, and I took some notes. And you did the drawing, I guess, in Microsoft Visio.
Right. That's what I do all my cutting templates and plans and drawings for the X-Carve. I do all that in Microsoft Visio.
Okay, and is that something that's pretty easy to learn? I mean, we're always having people wanting to know about something new to draw in.
Yeah, it's a Microsoft product that I think is like an add-on to Microsoft Office. So it's not free, but I'm not sure how much it costs. But it's mainly used by businesses for flowcharts and diagrams and organizational charts and stuff. So I've been using it for a long time where I used to work. And it's got basic shapes that you can drag onto your. It looks like graph paper that you're working on because it's got the grid and stuff. That's one of the reasons I like it. But, and then it has drawing tools where you can draw, polygons. You can draw lines and arcs and all that kind of stuff. Which I think, to the average person that's using it in business. Those drawing tools are kind of hidden in a menu, so you have to kind of search for them and tell it to show those to you in the toolbar. But once you get to that, it's just like any other software. It's just practicing, how to learn to draw the arcs and curves the way you want. And then it becomes more like using Illustrator, I guess, if anybody's familiar with Illustrator.
Okay. And I also, as I was watching that video again today, I kind of stopped it and jotted down the graphics where you're talking, where you put the graphic up in the corner of saying what kind of bit you were using, the depth per pass, feed rate, duration, and all that, which I thought was pretty cool. And I have to ask you this, Steve. According to your graphic, you used a 1/4-inch upcut spiral when you were doing the body, and you were doing a depth per pass of 25 thou.
Yep.
With a feed rate of 20 inches a minute. Now I got to ask you, because you said the duration was like 6 hours.
Yeah.
At about 5 hours and 50 minutes, weren't you starting to kind of pucker a little bit and thinking, man, this thing mess up now? That's pretty.
Man, I was doing that after an hour. I was like, oh no. And I used the stock spindle that came with the X-Carve in the beginning, which is about that big around. It's a real tiny thing.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was making this guitar, I was just crossing my fingers, hoping, that would be able to handle all this stuff I was throwing at it.
Yeah, and it's funny because I had remembered watching the video when you first did it, because I watch all your stuff when you first put it out. But when I went back to watch it again, I guess I didn't realize that was the stock spindle. And to me, that makes this whole thing even that much more impressive. That you did all these things, all these long run times, and made it through it. I mean, that's a lot, because I think you got like what, 15 hours or something total on all the run times.
Yeah, it's about 17, I think. I've got my notes here that I'm looking, because I figured somebody might ask me about that.
Yeah,
but
I guess the key thing is you, unlike a lot of people, realize that this X-Carve is not a real beefy machine, so you got to take really light passes and just give it time to do it. And that.
Yeah, I had cut a couple of signs and stuff before I did the guitar, so I knew that you had to kind of be conservative on your settings. But before I ever started, I took test pieces of the wood I was going to use. And I tested different speeds. I tested different depths of cut. I probably went through like 20 different settings for each piece of wood that I was going to use, and test it out and figure out, okay, which one does it cut the easiest with, without sacrificing too much, speed. So I finally settled on some settings and then went with it, and it just soldiered on and did the whole thing. I was really surprised but impressed at the same time that that machine can make something like this for me. You know, and kind of surprised at myself that I was able to get to tell it what to do and make this happen. So I don't know. It was just a crazy project that I just went for it and it worked.
Okay. Mark, I see over in the chat you say we've got a Visio question.
Yeah, we've got a couple of Visio questions for you, Steve. First is Al Forte's Odessa Woodworking. They want to know about Visio. It will export to SVG, won't it?
I believe it will. Whenever I do that, I have some issues with that. So the workflow I go through is I create my drawing, and then I save it as a JPEG, and then I open that in Inkscape, and then trace it, and then save that as a plain SVG out of Inkscape, and then that's what I import into Easel. So that's how I did all of this.
Okay.
There were a few things that I drew in Easel, like the pickup cavity, and I think I traced over the fret slots in Easel so I could manipulate it in Easel easily. But the rest of that went through that workflow from JPEG to SVG and then into Easel.
Okay, so you actually went ahead and exported it as a JPEG and then traced it again in Easel. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Steve, when you was mentioning the fretboard, that just made me think of something. Did you to do the fretboard? I know you got to have probably went to what is it called? Stuart McDonald? Is that the?
Stuart McDonald, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And got a fret calculator and figured out the fret spacing and all that. But do you have a way to dimension in Visio so that you could get that fret spacing right, or how did you do that?
Yeah. If I remember correctly, what I did was I drew the first line, which would be here at the nut. That would be my reference.
Mm-hmm.
And all these distances to the frets, I measured from the nut, because if I made a mistake on one of them, I didn't want it to affect down the line. So the nut was 0 point. So what I would do in Visio is I drew a line there, and then I drew a rectangle, and you can type the width of the rectangle into Visio, and it'll change the rectangle for you. Just like SketchUp or anything else. So what I would do, like if this first fret was at, I think it might be, I don't know, let's say 1.2 inches away. Then I would make a rectangle that's 1.2 inches, bump that against the 0 line, and then draw my next line on the edge of that rectangle. And then I would click on my rectangle, and then I would change the width of it to 2.7 inches or whatever.
Okay.
That gets me up to here, and then I would draw the line there. So I kept making a bigger rectangle that would give me that distance. So that's kind of how I figured out how to do it.
Okay.
But
Hey,
Visio does have rulers and stuff, but I didn't really trust it to go to, I think I was using thousandths of an inch. That's what I was going to. So.
Yeah.
Okay. We have one other question on Visio. Philip Barnes wants to know, is it similar to Corel Draw? I guess, unless you're using Corel Draw, you wouldn't know that, would you?
No, I've never used Corel Draw.
Okay.
I can, if y'all want me to, I can pull up Visio and kind of do a screen share if y'all like to look at it. What do you think?
Okay.
That's fine with me. It's up to you guys.
All right, let's see.
Just a comment real quick, Visio, while he's loading that up. Visio is, from my experience, has primarily been used for flow charting and diagrams for floor plans, that kind of stuff. It has icons for servers and PCs and different things like that, and that's what I've primarily used it for. I don't think anywhere close to CorelDRAW.
Yeah, that's what I've used it for 20 years, is business stuff. And you can load different, I guess, template shapes for different purposes, like circuit boards and stuff like that, and it'll have the different symbols that you need to draw a diagram.
You can draw blueprints with it. There's a bunch of different things you can do with it. I've done floor plans.
Let's see. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the drawing of the guitar that I made. And basically the way I initially started was I knew I wanted to do a Telecaster or Stratocaster scale because I already have a Stratocaster and I already have Telecaster templates that I borrowed from somebody. So I knew that would help me out if I just made it all the same dimensions and stuff. So then what I did was I went off to, if you go to Google and you search for like Telecaster plans or Telecaster templates, and then you click on the Images tab, you will see all kinds of images for plans for the guitar. So I basically grabbed one of those images, pulled it into Visio, and then I knew my wood was going to be like 12.5 inches wide. So I sized that image so that like the body would be 12.5 inches max in width. And then I don't know if you can see, but up here at the top there's a little drawing tool palette where you can draw a rectangle, ellipse, a line, an arc, a freeform tool, and a pencil. And I would just take that freeform tool and I would just basically, you know, imagine I've got a picture of a guitar here. I would just take that and I would just trace around the guitar shape, you know, whatever shape I wanted, and then connect it at the end. And then I have the shape that I can manipulate and make any shape I want. So that's how I ended up getting this guitar shape here, you know, for the body and also the neck. I just basically traced around or on top of a JPEG image of the actual plan from Google Images. And then I changed it up a little bit so mine wouldn't be exactly like the Telecaster or exactly like the Explorer. This ended up being a I don't think it's an Explorer, the Firebird body and a Telecaster style neck. Because I didn't want to just do a Telecaster, I didn't want to just do a Firebird copy. I kind of combined the neck and the body of two different guitars to make something a little different. But the other tools in Visio, you can just, over on the left here, you've got shapes. So you can drag the rectangle over there. Then you can tell it how wide you want it. Like I can make that 10 inches by, I don't know, 5 inches, and it'll draw a rectangle for you. And then if I wanted to change the shape of that rectangle, I can click the pencil tool, and you can make it more like trapezoid shape. If you want to add a curve to something, you would use the same pencil tool, and you could just drag the middle of a line, and it'll make arcs for you. Then if you wanted to drill a hole in that, over in my template, there's a little circle shape. So you just put that there, and over here you tell it, I want this hole to be 0.5 inches, and it'll put a 0.5 inch hole there for you. And then, like if you needed 5 of those, you could just duplicate it. And it has kind of a snap to grid kind of thing, where you can, it helps you line them up, and you can just keep duplicating it until you get all the ones you want, and just line them up. And what I like about it is the whole graph paper look to it, because back in the day I used to use graph paper pads to draw up plans and stuff for my woodworking. So that's how I drew all this stuff, is just using these tools in Visio. And yeah, I used it for business for years, and then it's just what I knew, and it was easy for me to transition into drawing stuff like this.
Okay, now Steve, that drawing that we're looking at right there, I'm assuming that's full scale?
Yeah, you can change the canvas to be whatever size you want. So you could do like billboards on this thing if you wanted to.
Yeah. Well, what I was thinking is if somebody wanted to make that guitar the old-fashioned way, they could print that out full scale and use the paper template.
Yeah. You just have to do it on large paper format printer, or tape pieces of paper together carefully with reference marks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then I got this one drawing all settled and finalized, and then I broke it into its different parts that I was going to need to put into easel. So this is the one I made for the body, and I basically just copied the body lines and stuff that I needed and pasted them onto a new page. So I saved that as a JPEG, opened it in Inkscape, traced it, and then saved as an SVG, and then imported that into easel. And then there's one for the neck, which is the back of the neck with the truss rod groove and the tuning peg holes. This one is fretboard. And the fretboard I did a little differently. I ended up just importing the fret slot lines into easel, because those were going to have to be cut with a .024 bit. And that's the only thing I wanted to cut with that .024 inch bit. So I had it cut all the lines, and then I went back and had it cut out the overall shape with the holes for the dot inlays.
You must have been running some pretty slow feed rates with that little bitty bit, weren't you?
Yeah, let's see. For the fret slots, I used a .024 solid carbide bit.
Right.
The depth per pass was .01.
Yeah, wow.
And the feed rate was 5 inches per minute.
Yeah, I have an online friend named John. He runs a company down there in Australia called Labels Extreme. He's a true artist when it comes to doing inlays, and he uses little micro tools like that. And he's talking about single-digit feed rates as well, so I can only imagine. So, Philip Barnes just chimed in and said he just checked the MS Visio page, and it will save as a DWG or a DXF file. So you might not have to do all that JPEG things. I don't know if easel will import a DWG or a DXF, will it?
At the time, it wouldn't. I know they've been making lots of changes and upgrades to easel since the time I did this. So I'm not sure if it does now, but at the time, the only thing I could import is a SVG.
Oh, okay.
And that's still today. That's the only way I know to do it. I haven't really explored other methods. So.
Yeah. So easel now allows you to import JPEGs and pictures, and they'll do around it. So it'll eliminate the one step through Inkscape, which is nice, I guess.
Cool. Yeah, that would save some time. Yeah, the only other thing I did were the little covers. for the cavities, the pickup and the control cavity. I cut those on the scroll saw because these pieces of wood are really thin, and I didn't really know, how well it would be able to do such thin pieces of wood. I was afraid it would break, so I just did them on the scroll saw because I was pretty confident I could do it there. So, but the rest of it is all X-Carve with the little spindle. I still got the little spindle, and it still works. Except I replaced it with the DeWalt since.
Oh, okay. So you got a DeWalt on there now?
Yep.
Okay. Well, Steve, if anybody else has got any questions, just jump in there. But I got another question I want to ask you about the X-Carve itself. When you got that from Inventables, I know I see on Facebook all the time people that are, starting to get the CNC bug, and they're wanting to get in, as cheap as they can and stuff like that. And I see a lot of talk about the X-Carve. So what would you say, how would you rate your experience as far as when you got that from Inventables and the assembly and all that kind of thing?
I enjoyed putting it together. When I was a kid, I used to do erector sets and Legos and all that stuff. I still play with Legos. But when I got it, I had heard, it would take 8 or 10 hours or whatever to put together. And at the same time, I knew I was going to make a video of it. So I think making the video at the same time I was putting it together kind of, I don't know, I guess it kind of skews my opinion of putting it together. If I didn't have to make a video at the same time, I would have enjoyed putting the whole thing together. But I think if you're the type of person who likes fiddling with stuff and putting things together and fixing things around the house, that sort of thing, and you can usually figure out how something is broken and you can repair it, you would probably enjoy putting it together. But if you're the kind of person who wants to get something and just plug it in and as quickly as possible make something with it, then the kit is probably not the way you want to go. So, but then again, there's a huge price difference buy something ready-made versus in kit. So, but I would say, for me, I really enjoy putting it together and figuring out how to use it and seeing all the things I could make with it. So I've had a good experience and a good time using it, and I still use it. I use it mainly to personalize gifts, and I make plaques and signs and different things with it, and I'm thinking about doing a couple of different types of guitars on it, and even guitar templates. It'd be great for making guitar templates.
Yeah.
Like I've got this Telecaster set here where you make a template of a neck, and then the body, and then you have the cavities you have to route out, and that one slot there is where you register it. But yeah, it'd be great for making stuff like this. I think the DeWalt will help speed it up too. The DeWalt 611, depending on what kind of wood I use, and depending on which bits I'm using. I probably wouldn't speed up that .024 bit. I'd probably do the same thing.
I don't think I would either. I don't think I would either.
Yeah,
That's pretty tiny.
It's funny. I bought a pack of 5 on eBay. I broke the first one on the first try, and I thought, oh no, this is not going to work. But on the second try, I slowed it way down, and it worked. So I only broke 1 bit out of 5 when I was doing that for everyone.
Oh, you're an overachiever. I can't tell you how many I broke. In fact, that was a question Rick Nolan has wanted to know where you get your tiny bits from.
I got it from eBay. I just searched. I knew the fret slot needed to be .023 or something.
Yeah.
And that was the closest I could find. It was .024. So I ordered them, and they worked.
I broke 3, so you're way ahead of me.
Yeah, I think it was only like $10 or less or something for all 5 of them. So.
Yeah, it's just waiting for them to get there. When you break your last one, is the problem.
Yeah, yeah. But if you're gonna do something like a guitar like this, definitely run some tests on speeds and all that stuff. Like I've got this. I saved this part here. This was my neck pocket test, where I basically I cut out the end of the neck that was going to go in the pocket, and then I cut out the pocket, and I made sure the end of the neck fit in the pocket before I did the actual guitar. So a lot of it was just testing it and make sure it would fit together and cut everything correctly without struggling, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. Now your guitar body, is that pine, or what type of wood is that?
Yeah, it's southern yellow pine from here in Georgia. My buddy Hans in the Gwinnett Woodworkers Club, he gave me a board I could use for that. It's 1 3/4 inches thick. It was a little bit thicker when he gave it to me, but it's 2 pieces glued together down the center to make up the 13 or 12.5 inch wide blank. And yeah, it works fine. Normally, you know, for my first guitar, I didn't mind using pine or whatever, but on my next one, I might pick out something better. Like I know mahogany, you know, like Les Pauls are made of mahogany. A lot of Fenders are made of, well, the cheaper ones I think are made of poplar. But you see a lot of maples and
Swamp ash and
basswood.
maple, yeah.
Yeah, ash Telecasters are sought after. Yeah.
Jim Bashirs wants to know, since it's made out of pine, how is the sustain on it?
You know, people ask me about the sustain and the pickup I bought, and you know, tone woods and all that stuff, and I just can't tell the difference. I could pick up like the most expensive guitar, the cheapest guitar, and I still play Sweet Home Alabama. You know?
Well, when you start running it, there's a big controversy about that in the guitar building world. When you're running it through an amplifier, at that point it doesn't really matter. Now I'm gonna get flamed like crazy in the chat over here.
Yeah, for all the tone wood.
I guess I've got my amp here and I can play a little bit of it. Like here's clean sound.
Oh, nice.
I don't know, is that really loud or just fine or whatever?
Sounded good to me.
I have my choice between clean, crunch, metal, and insane. I'm gonna pick, let's go with insane and see what that gives us. There's some sustain. I guess it's not so good.
Would it be wrong to yell Freebird right now?
Huh?
Would it be wrong to yell Freebird right now?
Oh, no, not at all.
You got a lighter?
Okay.
You got to remember, folks, that's all from a guy that's a drummer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've been playing drums all my life, and I learned guitar when I was 15. So
Wow.
about
Wow.
15 years
Wow.
difference.
Okay, yeah, Trevor Burke just said, hey, this live stream just went to 11.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have a couple of other questions here for you, Steve. Becca Miller wants to know, where did you get the electronics?
Good question. I got them from cbgiddy.com, and they are most popular for selling like cigar box guitar parts and kits, but they also sell parts, like the bridge. And one thing I really liked that they sell is a pre-wired kit, which gets you the volume and tone knob, the output jack, and the pickup is already pre-wired together. So all I really had to do is, when I got it, I did have to clip the wire to the pickup and run it through a hole underneath and then resolder it. But I didn't have to worry about figuring out how to wire volume or tone or any of that. They sell that already pre-wired. The bridge, the little strap thingies, the back of the neck plate, and the tuning pegs. And I think I got these little string trees, they're called, that kind of hold the string down toward the neck, and so it gets a sharper angle over the nut here. And the fret wire I got from stumac.com. And I think that's it. Yeah. And one important thing, if you're thinking about making a guitar for the first time, is to order all the parts first. That's one thing I'm glad I did, because I could actually check all the dimensions and figure out how big that hole really needs to be. Because if you go by the templates or the plans that you get online, you're not exactly sure if the pickup you get is going to match the hole that you route. So I would definitely recommend getting the parts first, and like the volume and tone knobs, the parts behind the scenes underneath the plate, you never know how big those electronics are going to be and stuff like that. So, but definitely buy the parts first, and then design the guitar around the parts you're going to use. That's what I would recommend, especially your first time.
Yes, especially, and even people who have made hundreds of guitars will get that bridge first, because mounting holes are never the same. Even you buy two of the same bridge, they're not the same. So,
but CB Giddy, all of these parts I got only came out to like $50.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go to a music store, or if you go to musiciansfriend.com, is a popular musical website, musical instruments. If you go there to buy it, it's going to cost a lot more, but you'll get better quality stuff. But on my first guitar, I didn't really want to go that far into it. So, but on my second or third one, I might splurge a little and buy better pickups and stuff. So, even though I probably won't be able to tell a difference.
Okay.
It's funny. After I made the guitar, put up the video, I think guitarists out there are very opinionated about what pickups and what type of wood and what kind of strings you use and all that stuff. It's a very, I guess, competitive thing, or I don't know, but among guitarists.
Yeah.
Kind of like
everybody's right and everybody's wrong.
Yeah, and so I got a lot of should have comments. You should have used this, should have done that. And I was like, man, this is my first guitar. Maybe I'll do some of that stuff on my 10th. I don't know.
I got that on my first build as well, and my answer to them was, go get yours, we'll jam.
Yeah. Yeah, ultimately I ended up with a guitar that works, it plays, I'm pleased with it.
Now we have another question. I know the answer to this, and everybody who watched your video knows the answer to this, but where did you get the neck?
Oh, I made that too. Yeah, on the X-Carve. The wood is, I don't know how well I can see it, but it's curly maple. You can kind of see the stripes in the curly maple.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's got walnut dot and lace. But I made the back of the neck. I cut the profile on the X-Carve, and then the outline, and then the curved profile I did with a Stanley Sureform file. It's a pretty aggressive file, and I saw there are a lot of good channels on YouTube about guitar making, by the way. One of the better ones I found was Fletcher Handcrafted. Yeah. He's in Australia, I believe. Yeah. And that guy makes some beautiful stuff. But he had a video where he was showing how to do the back of a neck. Because I didn't really want to try to figure out how to cut a curved profile with the X-Carve at the time, because I was just happy to cut out the outline. I knew that would get more complicated. But he did what's called faceting, where you take the square, chunkiness of wood, and you kind of do 45-degree, cut off the corners, and then that creates two corners when you do that on each side, and then you start cutting off those corners until you get down to a rounded shape. So he called it faceting. I don't know if that's a thing, but it sounded like he's a professional, so I trusted he knew what he was talking about. But I was really surprised with that part, and it only took like 30 minutes for me to do the whole back of the neck and then sand it. So
yeah, it seems that modeling the back of a guitar neck and cutting it out on the CNC is kind of like the holy grail to the home hobbyist CNCer. And I just wanted to real quickly give a shout out. Laney Shaughnessy is in the chat, and he's saying howdy to y'all.
Oh, hey, Laney.
Glad to have you with us tonight.
So, okay, I have another question here from Jim Bashirs. He wants to know that he's heard that guys go into pawn shops to find a junk guitar with a neck that feels good to them, then take the neck and electronics out and build their own body. What do you think about doing that?
That is a great way to go. If you don't want to take the time to do the neck, because it is a little complicated with the, I think the scariest part to me was shaping the back of the neck, installing the fret wire, and also gluing in the truss rod that's underneath that you can't see. The truss rod that keeps the neck straight, because it opposes the force of the strings pulling on the front of the neck. But those three things make it kind of scary to do a neck. So if you want to do your first guitar, that'd be a great thing to do, is buy a cheap guitar at a pawn shop or off Craigslist. I see them on Craigslist for like $50 all the time. Yep. You could use the neck and all the electronics and just build the body. That's a good way to get into it.
Yard sales too.
Yeah. And David Picciuto, Drunken Woodworker Makes Something channel, he did a guitar like that, where he took the neck and electronics and stuff and just made the body. And one other thing that he did that I thought was a good idea, instead of cutting out the whole body on the CNC, he cut out like a 1/4 inch deep around it just to establish a outline. And then he took that over to the bandsaw and cut it the rest of the way and used a flush trim bit to finish it up. So that would be a good way to speed things up. But when I did it, I was just seeing if I could do it on the X-Carve, the whole thing, start to finish. So that was what I challenged myself with. So, and it worked.
Yeah, and that was I talked to him a little bit about that via email, and he said that was the main reason he did it that way, was because he needed to speed it up. He saw the carve time on it and just went, "Oh, no way, I can't sit there and wait for that." So
yeah, when you think about it,
I actually use that technique I use the flush trim technique a lot, even with trunk making and everything else. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, it just makes sense to do that when you're cutting something really thick like that. Just get enough to get started, and then you can use a flush trim to finish it up.
Yeah, since I've been doing some of the stuff, since I've got my CNC, I found out that a lot of the little projects that I'm doing, they're only 3/4 of an inch thick on signs and stuff. I'll do exactly that same way. I'll have the X-Carve. I better not say that out there. Yeah.
Hey.
I think you need to take it back.
Yeah. I'll have my GarageWorks CNC. Let's get it right. I'll have it do the outline and cut down about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch into the outside to give me the line, and then take it off and put it on my scroll saw and cut it out. It's 10 times. Do what?
I said, you still got a scroll saw? I thought you had that up for sale on Craigslist.
No, I ain't never gonna sell it. I'll have to brag. I made my clock. My let's talk shop, or it's time to make some sawdust clock. But that's what I did with this. I just had it go around and scribe out where the teeth were, and then I come back with a scroll saw and cut out all the teeth all the way around it. So it was 10 times faster.
Cool. That was nice.
Got another question for Steve here from Laney. Laney wants to know what your total build time was, or cut time was on your guitar there, Steve.
Let's see. I've got 6 for the body, 5 for the neck, so that's 11. 4 for just the fret slots.
Wow.
That's 15. 45 minutes to cut out the fretboard, so that's about 16. And then the dot inlays, what's that for? 15 minutes. So yeah, it's about 17. 17 hours.
Okay.
I would say. That was just the cutting, just the X-Carve cutting. There were, I would say, it took me about a month to do all the drawings and get it to the point where you could cut it. And I was doing it nights and weekends around a full-time job. So.
Yeah. Steve, if you don't know, we had Laney on the show last week talking about the digital wood carver, and I never did ask him if he's made something like a guitar. If he's out there, Laney, post in the chat there if you've ever cut a guitar body or something with that.
Yeah, I think at the woodworking show, he had there was a guitar on the wall on the display, and I assumed it was cut out with the wood carver, so, or at least a guitar body or something, a template maybe.
Alrighty.
Okay, and then Donald's Vlogsify Woodshop. We got to talk, Donald. He wants to know, does the CNC set the action on the guitar, or did you have to fine-tune that with the file? I'm guessing he's talking about the setup with the nut.
Oh, the action is usually the height of the strings off the fretboard, and that's set by adjusting the screws back here on the bridge. I did all that setup, but if he's talking about the back of the neck profile, I shaped that myself with a Stanley Sureform file. It's kind of like a rasp or something, I guess.
I think he's talking about the action of the strings up there on your nut. Did you use nut files on your setup up there?
No. Let's see. I did have to sand the nut down. To get it, the back of it, to get it the right height.
Okay.
So that the first fret here, it wasn't too high to start off with.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of it was just adjusting the Allen key screws back here.
Yeah, and Steve, if I remember correctly, didn't you say you used the X-Carve to actually make a tool to do that 12-inch radius?
Oh, yeah. On top of the fretboard here, there's a slight radius. It's a 12-inch, I think, is what it was. There's different ones. Different guitar players like different radiuses. And again, I probably could tell a difference. But I took a piece of 2x4 and had the X-Carve just route grooves down the 2x4 at different depths as it went across to create kind of an arc, and then I sanded it the rest of the way to make it smooth. And then I put sandpaper in that little crevice, and then I just ran that up and down the neck. And that sanded away the edges to give it that 12-inch radius. And it just makes it easier to play so that it's not perfectly flat.
Right. Beautiful.
Yeah, it worked. But StuMac, if you go to StuMac.com, they actually sell those radius sanding block is what they're called. They can be kind of pricey, though. If you're only making one guitar, you might not want to buy one. You can just kind of make it yourself with an X-Carve, like I did, or with any CNC, really.
And that's sure the way to go.
Yeah, if you're able to do the radius profiling with your CNC, that would be the best way to do it, I think. Which I haven't gotten to that point in my CNC career, I guess.
Well, as a guitar guy, Steve, I just got to say you are light years ahead of most everybody. I mean, that's fantastic. That's really a gorgeous guitar.
Well, thanks. Yeah, the color was also an experiment. I used trans-tint blue dye on the Southern Yellow Pine. And the blue and the yellow kind of put some green streaks in it, which was kind of cool. I think the usual way to go about a blue guitar is they would dye it black first and then sand it back so you get some of the black in the grain, and then you do the blue over it so you get some transparent depth there with the blue with the black underneath. There's lots of videos on that out there. So definitely did lots of research before I did this.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I have to say that thing just came out amazing. And again, I'm just so impressed that you did it not only with an X-Carve, but an X-Carve with a stock spindle. That's just crazy.
Yeah, and the spindle still works. I still got it. It's my backup. I know some people had some issues with theirs not working, or they would fail after a certain number of hours. But mine, I got a good one, so I kept it.
Yeah. Now, Steve, I know a lot of people with the X-Carve. One of the complaints I always saw a lot was the belts breaking or skipping and losing steps and stuff like that. Did you experience any of those kind of issues?
No, I pretty much set up the belts, tightened them, got them to pluck kind of like a bass guitar string, you know. Made sure they made kind of the same tone on both sides, so that you kind of know they're in the ballpark as far as matching tension. And then they did slip when I was first building the X-Carve, and I saw some solutions for that with zip ties, and I ended up wrapping mine with electrical tape, and I haven't taken them off since. It's still just the way it was when I put it together, so I haven't had to tighten them or anything. But again, I go really conservative on my speeds and depth of cut. I'd rather wait hours than try to go 30 minutes and have it fail.
Al Forte wants to know, how did you fix the ends on your belts?
I wrap an electrical tape. Yeah.
Okay, he's been using heat shrink, so, heat tape. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I thought about going back and taking my electrical tape off and doing the heat shrink tubing.
Heat shrink tubing. He just corrected himself.
I haven't had a need to. So.
Okay. And finally, one last question for you. Grant Haggard wants to know, could you scale that down and make a miniature guitar?
Yeah, they make 3/4 scale guitars, that they sell, and it'd be really easy. If you go to StuMac.com, if you click around they've got like a resources page, I think. They have a fret calculator, that you can tell it what scale guitar you want to make and how many frets you want, and then it'll actually calculate it and tell you the distance to each fret from the 0 point down here at the nut. So that's a really good resource. That whole stumac.com site is a great resource for guitar building and stuff. So.
It is, but it's the worst kind of candy store in the world if you're a guitar guy, because you can really go crazy and spend a lot of money.
Yeah, they have a lot of tools that make it easier to build a guitar. That's for sure.
Oh boy.
Especially if you're gonna do just 1 or 2 or 3, might not be worth it. But if you expect to kind of do it, and start selling them or something, it can really save you time. A lot of the tools and stuff that they have there.
So is there an electric ukulele in your future?
I do want to build a travel size guitar, which would be, I'm thinking of doing a headless guitar, like in the 80s, a lot of the people would, like Van Halen, he played one. The headless guitar where you tune it down here, and it's just like a small rectangle body, so you could, take it with you anywhere. So
there you go.
So that is a project I want to do with the X-Carve, and also a single piece of wood guitar where you take one large chunk of wood and you carve one side of it, and then you flip it over, using register pins or whatever, and you carve the other side of it, and then you've got a guitar that you can just put all the electronics on and go with it. So
wow.
There are guys out there who have manually built one-piece guitars out of one chunk of wood. So that's something I want to try as well. I have to be really selective in that chunk of wood.
If you want to really end up down a rabbit hole, just Google Tahitian ukulele. That's how they're made. They're carved out of one piece, but they're 8-string ukuleles. Really cool.
Yeah. And there are a lot of guitar forums out there. One guitar forum that's been really helpful for me is, I think it's tdpri.com. They do a lot of Telecaster, Fender style stuff in that forum, and talk about other guitars as well. That's a good place to get information. But yeah, I mean, you could spend months researching, and of course everybody's got an opinion on how to do every little thing. So kind of have to pick what you want to do.
I said I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about upgrading from your CNC to something bigger or better?
No, I haven't. Just monetarily, it's not in the cards at the moment. But that would be cool to do if I decided to maybe start selling things and mass producing stuff. But where I'm at now, I use it on more of an occasional hobbyist basis, so it's hard to justify doing that, because I'm trying to, I work full time, and I do this nights and weekends, and I also try to do my YouTube channel where I try to do fun projects that are attainable by a lot of people. So I try to limit the CNC stuff I do on the channel, so that kind of limits how often I get to use it. But because I'm building other things like shelves and barn doors and sandwiches and pizzas and R2D2 birdhouses and all that other stuff.
Steve, I don't think we even brought this up, but it just popped in my head just now. Didn't you do a video where you made your X-Carve where it folds up? Wasn't that you that did that?
Yeah. I have limited space here. I already took up my wife's side of the garage, so over on my side of the garage, I have a drum practice room that I've sectioned off, and inside there I have the X-Carve table, but I can fold it vertically against the wall so that when my son has his band over here to practice, they have room to do it. Then I can fold it right back down when I need to use it. So that's coming very handy. So that video is on my YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, I thought I don't know what made me just think of it, but I thought I remembered seeing a video where you made it where it would kind of stow out of the way.
Yeah, and I got some comments about concerns with it staying flat. You know, I know it's important for the CNC to be flat so it doesn't rise on one side of the table, you know, and lower on the other side of the table as it goes across. You know, you want it, the bit to travel parallel with the surface, basically. But, you know, I put it up and down all the time, and the stuff I do is usually small pieces, so it doesn't really affect it. It's kind of like putting $200 pickups instead of this $20 pickup. I can't tell the difference.
Okay. I know our panel's been awful quiet tonight. Has anybody got any questions for Steve? Comments or anything? Nothing.
I'm trying to keep it quiet because I'm the only one that's been throwing questions at him. I don't want to be the one to bogart all of his time.
Yeah, well, listen, we're winding up. We're over our hour a little bit here. Steve, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here and share your X-Carve guitar building experience. Like I said, to date, that's the coolest thing I've seen made with an X-Carve yet.
Well,
somebody's going to have to really do something to top that, I think.
Yeah, Inventables, they have a great forum over there, and I actually have this project on the Inventables site where you can actually open my easel files and see what I did and all the settings, and you could even make your own if you want to use the easel files, change them, edit them, and make it your own. So, but yeah, there's a lot of other cool projects on the Inventables site as well where you can get the files and stuff. So, yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it. It went by really fast.
Well, it always does. You know, I look down and it's already after 10 a little bit, but that's okay. We run over most of the time anyway. Mm-hmm. I want to thank all my distinguished panel members there for hanging around with us tonight. I especially want to thank the viewers. We've got, I don't know, 50, 60 something viewers out there watching. So we appreciate you hanging around. And again, Steve, thanks so much for coming on. And I got to have you back on here again sometime because I'm sure you're going to make another cool guitar with that thing.
Yeah, I will. Thanks for everybody on the panel for coming in to hang out, and everybody over in the chat for asking questions and stuff. I really appreciate it. It's kind of cool to see everybody here. So, yeah, enjoyed it.
Okay, well, I guess we're going to wrap this one up then. And like I said, thanks for watching, folks. We'll see y'all.
Don't forget to leave everybody a thumbs up on the way out the door.
Good night.
Bye.